Hello everybody, thanks for joining me. Today I'm tying a CDC Mayfly spinner pattern with the techniques and tools of Marc Petitjean. The hook I've got in the vise is a size 10 dry fly hook from RX, and for the thread I'm using Marc Petitjean Black. For the tail I've got some real deal coq-de-lion here, look at that gloss on the fibres. And for the body and wings I'm using 3 different colours of CDC, cream, bistre and old yellow, all from Marc Petitjean. For the thorax cover, I'm going to be using some floating polypropylene yarn in black. So let's get started. I'm tying in my thread just behind the hook eye, making a few wraps backwards to secure, and trimming off the excess. Here I'm going to spin the thread flat. This Petitjean thread does spin very nice and flat, it's quite fine as well. For the tail, I've taken a little bunch of my coq-de-lion fibres. It's got a really nice speckled barred look and they work fantastically for mayfly tails. I've made a few loose wraps and I'm going to adjust for length. I want to leave it quite long because obviously this is a spinner pattern, they have long tails and it does contribute a lot towards the buoyancy of the fly as well. I've tacked those down, I'm going to trim off the excess and tidy up at the front. I'm aiming to keep the underbody fairly skinny. All of the bulk is going to be coming from the 3 twisted CDC feathers that we're going to use to make up the body. Here I'm taking my thread back down towards the tail and butting it up right against the end of the fly. Now I've got a long CDC feather, this is the old gold. I'm going to tie that in, drag it through to the tips and secure that down. Here, this is the Petitjean hackle plier, it's specifically designed for gripping onto CDC. I'm going to make a wrap with the feather and then start to twist it. And you can see I'm coaxing those lovely long fibres down and twisting and wrapping as I go. It's really helpful to have a rotary vise for this. And I'm happy with that. I'm just making the butt of the fly here. So I'm going to bring my thread back, unclip the feather and secure everything down. Make a few tight wraps and snip off the excess CDC. Don't throw that away, there's plenty of usable fibres left on it for other projects. Now for the next feather, I've zoomed back in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. Again, I'm going to make a couple of loose loops, tie everything in by the tip and grab hold of the feather with the hackle plier. It helps to strip the straggly bits from the very base of the feather, that way the plier can get more grip. For the first turn I don't twist, just to allow the feather to settle in. And again you can see, coax those fibres down and twist and wrap as you go. I just about get away with using the one feather for this length of body, but if you need to use another one you can easily tie off and add in a new one, the same as we did when we went from the butt to the body. Again a few tight turns to secure and snip away the excess. I'm going to tie down those loose bits at the front, fluff up any stragglers, and then come in with my scissors and trim away the excess fibres. And this is going to make a really lovely ribbed effect body. It's very water repellent of course, it's completely made of CDC, and it gives a lovely effect for flies. I know Marc Petitjean does a lot of this in his book, but it's a great technique and I suggest that you give it a go. You don't necessarily need the specific tools that he makes, but I do find that they're very well made and they do help a lot with making these flies. The next material to tie in is a length of my polypropylene yarn, and this is going to make the thorax cover and allow us to split the wings. I've not used the entire bulk of the yarn, it's a very thick one, so I've taken a few strands out and I'm going to park those back in my materials clip. Here I'm taking another CDC feather, this time is bistre, which is a lovely greyish brownish black colour, very natural, very buggy. I'm going to park that out of the way for the time being. Here I've got a table clip, a clip and my hair stacker from the Petitjean system. This is all the magic clip system. There's some wonderful videos online from Barry Ord-Clark and from Marc Petitjean himself about how to use these, but essentially what I'm doing is I've taken 3 feathers with nice long fibres and I'm going to use the table clip, pull down the stems, and that's drawn all of the fibres pointing the same direction. Then I can come in with the wide clip and grab them, and you can see that the stems are presented out of the top. I'm going to snip away the excess from both ends, and then come along and using my long scissors, make a clean cut, and that's taken almost all of the fibres off the CDC with hardly any waste at all. Here I'm using the hair stacker, and I'm going to bring it down into a nice clump. I've taken that clump of CDC and we're going to tie that in a couple of millimetres in front of where we started the polypropylene yarn. I'm going to trim away the excess and make some tight wraps to secure everything down, and this is going to form the bulk of our wing. I'm going to start wrapping the thorax here using that long CDC feather that we tied in earlier. I've made one wrap behind, and now I'm coming in with the hackle plier and again twisting it up and spinning as I go, just to create a little bit of bulk underneath the thorax and to mask the thread. So only space for a couple of wraps. I'm going to release the feather and tie everything down. Once I've trimmed away the excess feather, we can start to make the spinner wings for this fly. And that big bunch of CDC that we tied in is going to be split into two halves. So I'm bringing up that yarn that we tied down earlier, and I'm trying to split it nice and evenly. There's a little bit more on my side than on the far side, so I'm going to move some of those longer fibres over. And you can see that that's split it down and drawn those fibres down to make some nice spinner wings. I can secure down the yarn now, and come in with my whip finisher and tie everything off just above the hook eye. Going to make a couple of whip finishes for security, and then I can come in with my scissors, trim away the thread, and trim away the yarn. Now we can rearrange the wings a little bit. I'm going to draw them forward, pull out any loose fibres of CDC that might have got caught up, and I'm just going to use my scissors to take off the straggliest ends and create a nice little mayfly wing shape. This is a fantastic pattern. It'll float all day long, sits right in the surface film and looks like a wonderful mayfly spinner. And after a little bit of cleanup, here's the finished fly. Thanks for watching, give this one a go, and I'll catch you in the next video.